Britain can change its Prime Minister without holding a general election. To many people, that sounds wrong. After all, the Prime Minister leads the government, appears on election posters, takes part in television debates, and speaks for the country on the world stage. So how can one person leave Downing Street and another move in without the public being asked to vote? The answer begins with one of the most misunderstood facts in British politics. The British public does not directly elect the Prime Minister. At a general election, the United Kingdom is divided into 650 constituencies. In each constituency, voters choose a candidate to become their Member of Parliament. The winner becomes the local MP and takes a seat in the House of Commons. The national result is created by adding together those 650 separate contests. The political party able to command the confidence of the House of Commons normally forms the government. Its leader normally becomes Prime Minister. That is why a British general election is not the same as a presidential election. A voter may be strongly influenced by the party leaders, but the name printed on the ballot paper is usually the name of a local parliamentary candidate. Even a voter living in the Prime Minister's constituency is technically voting for that person as an MP, not casting a separate national vote for Prime Minister. This distinction explains almost everything that follows. The Prime Minister holds office because they can lead a government that commands the confidence of the House of Commons. They do not hold office because they personally received a nationwide majority of votes. So what happens when that Prime Minister resigns? When a Prime Minister resigns, Parliament does not automatically disappear. The MPs elected at the previous general election remain in place. The governing party or governing coalition may still possess enough support in the Commons to continue governing. The vacancy is therefore usually filled through the rules of the governing political party. Different parties use different systems. MPs may narrow the field of candidates. Party members may then vote. In some circumstances, only one candidate remains and becomes leader without a wider ballot. Once the successor has been clearly identified, the outgoing Prime Minister formally tenders their resignation to the monarch. The monarch then appoints the person best placed to command the confidence of the House of Commons. This does not mean the monarch personally chooses the Prime Minister according to political preference. The modern monarch is expected to remain politically neutral. The political process must make clear who is capable of forming a government. The new Prime Minister then enters Downing Street and appoints ministers. No new general election is automatically required because the membership of the House of Commons has not changed. The same Parliament continues. This has happened many times and under different political parties. Winston Churchill replaced Neville Chamberlain in 1940. John Major replaced Margaret Thatcher in 1990. Gordon Brown replaced Tony Blair in 2007. Theresa May replaced David Cameron in 2016. Boris Johnson replaced Theresa May in 2019, and in 2022, Liz Truss replaced Boris Johnson before Rishi Sunak replaced Liz Truss. None of those changes immediately required a general election. The constitutional question was not whether the new leader had personally won a national vote, it was whether their government could continue to command support in the House of Commons. But that legal and constitutional explanation does not end the democratic argument. A new Prime Minister may inherit the parliamentary majority won by their party, but they may not inherit the same political authority in the eyes of the public. General election campaigns are increasingly centred on party leaders. Their faces appear on leaflets, their promises dominate manifestos, television debates present them as competing candidates for national leadership. It is therefore understandable that many voters feel they are choosing a Prime Minister, even though the Constitution says they are choosing an MP and a Parliament. The criticism becomes stronger when the new Prime Minister changes direction. They may replace senior ministers, abandon previous promises, introduce new economic policies, or reshape the government's priorities. The governing party may argue that it still possesses a mandate because it won the previous general election. Critics may argue that the programme presented to voters has been altered so significantly that a fresh election is needed. Both arguments contain some truth. The parliamentary case is straightforward. The government remains entitled to govern while it commands the confidence of the Commons. The MPs have not vanished simply because the Prime Minister has changed. The public legitimacy question is more difficult. Prime Minister chosen by party MPs or party members may lead a country of tens of millions of people after receiving the direct support of only a small electorate inside that party. That is constitutionally possible, but it can still feel politically uncomfortable. Could Parliament force the issue? Yes. A government must retain the confidence of the House of Commons. If it loses a clear vote of confidence, the Prime Minister is expected either to resign or to seek a dissolution of government, which would lead to a general election. Government MPs can also make a Prime Minister's position impossible by withdrawing political support, refusing to vote for key legislation, or replacing the party leader again. So a Prime Minister may not face the entire electorate immediately, but they are never completely free from parliamentary pressure. So, is it democratic for Britain to change Prime Minister without holding an election? According to the rules of Britain's parliamentary system, yes. The public elects members of Parliament. A government is formed by whoever can command the confidence of the House of Commons. If the leader changes but that parliamentary support remains, the government can continue. This system has practical advantages. It allows the country to replace a leader who resigns, becomes ill, loses the support of colleagues, or is removed during a national crisis without automatically forcing an immediate election. It can provide continuity when government must continue functioning. But the criticism should not simply be dismissed. Modern election campaigns often encourage voters to believe they are choosing between individual candidates for Prime Minister. When a replacement leader pursues a substantially different programme, the distance between constitutional theory and public expectation becomes obvious. The new Prime Minister may possess the legal authority to govern, while still lacking a personal mandate from the electorate. That does not make the appointment unconstitutional, but it may create pressure for an early election to establish public legitimacy. The fairest verdict is this. Changing Prime Minister without an election is not a loophole. It is not an accident, and it is not unique to one political party. It is a consequence of the United Kingdom being a parliamentary democracy rather than a presidential system. The public elects the House of Commons. The Prime Minister governs because they can command its confidence. But constitutional legitimacy and public legitimacy are not always the same thing. A leader may have the right to govern under the rules, while still needing to convince the country that they deserve to govern in practice. The process is democratic according to Britain's parliamentary constitution. Whether it always feels democratic is a much harder question. This has been the Nelson Brief, the context behind the story.